Hey friends, it's Jennifer. I'm so glad to see you again. Welcome to the Real Knitting Podcast. I've got a whole bunch of cool stuff for today. I'm really excited. I have a finished object, which I don't know if I've had a finished object since I've started the podcast. I'm wearing some stuff, works in progress, new cast-ons. I've had some yarnie adventures this week, and I have some more coming up. I've got a giveaway. I'm pretty excited about that, kind of a big one. Yoga for knitters, and then a little bit of life stuff. So have a seat, grab a cup, make yourself at home. Glad to have you. So let's start with what I'm wearing, because it's kind of obvious. First of all, it's been so muggy here. Muggy? Is muggy really a word? It's been muggy here in Upper East Tennessee, and so there's not a whole lot of knits to be worn because everything just feels kind of blech. But anyway, I have on this. This is actually my pattern. This is the Sinking Creek headband, and it was inspired by a creek that runs through my in-laws' property, and the little details on there. This one is made out of Kramer Perfection worsted. It's just some leftovers that I had. That pattern, it's my pattern, the Sinking Creek headband, and it comes in a couple of different sizes. I think worsted and fingering, maybe? A couple of different sizes. Okay. Oh, it also comes in baby through adult. Works in progress. First. No, wait. My finished object. Socks! Okay, so these aren't really socks. These are Joe's Perfect Sliver Socks by Cozy Up Knits, and I love this texture right here. Can you see all of that? It's like a slip stitch. I don't want to give it away, but it's a slip stitch kind of a deal. And these were totally out of my wheelhouse. So I'm not much of a sock knitter, although for some reason I've been into the socks and the feet stuff lately, but maybe just because it's hot outside. I don't know. But this is a Cozy Up Knits pattern, and it's toe up. Now, I have never before done a pair of toe up socks. I kind of liked it. I won't tell you the cast on or anything, but it makes a really smooth kind of toe. It's a little bit wide. I think that these are going to be for my mother-in-law. My father-in-law has been pretty sick, and she's been pretty stressed, so I think these are going to be a gift for her. I may swing them by this afternoon. But it's a toe up, and then the heel is different than anything I've ever done before. It's a twin stitch heel. I hope I can say that without saying too much. But I'm really happy. They just kind of roll over here. They fit my foot pretty well. They're a little wide, but that's good for her feet. And yeah. These knit up so fast. So these are DK. They are leftover, just little leftovers from my first Love Note sweater. And so it's universal yarn, deluxe DK tweed, and the color is 418, which is the Terra Cotta. And I love the little tweedy bits. So there you go. This pattern really calls for fingering held double so that you can use up your stash, but I had this DK sitting around and thought it would make really sweet socks for my mother-in-law. So, slipper socks, finished object. Speaking of socks, because for whatever reason I'm on this crazy sock kick. I'm still working on my little socks for James, and I'm kind of crazy. I had to rip back again. I don't know. I just have to do better math. I have to pay attention is really kind of what it is. But I've come down into the toe. I kind of like the interesting pooling that's going on here, and it's showing up really good on camera. For a little boy's sock, that's kind of fun and funky. And I'm doing it on my DPNs, of course. These are my ever so favorites, my carbons, the ones, the needles I can't break. So my carbon needles from Knitter's Pride, and you guys know I link everything below. And these are top down with a slip stitch heel. I actually did the eye of partridge heel, which again just takes a little bit more concentration, but it's pretty sweet, and it should fit his foot just perfectly because I did measure his foot. And then just the gusset and down to the toe. So I'm almost done with this. This is Diamond Luxury Yarn Socksy Lady. So pretty. And it is living, I have 2 socks living in this bag. In my JoJo bag that I've shown before that I love, also from Cozy Up Knits. Girls, you're just getting the shout outs today. Most days. I think I shout you out like every time. And then I have yet another cast on. Oh, real quick, as far as works in progress, I have made 0 progress on my portage sweater, so it's still, we're just leaving it in timeout a little bit longer. It's not that I don't love it, I'm just distracted right now, and I'm gonna decide that's okay. But I did cast on yet another sock. So I've had this beautiful yarn, and I caked it up, and I had big plans for it. There we go. Look at all those speckles. I do not remember the dyer. If you know the dyer, please let me know, because I want to shout them out. The name, I do remember the name of this though. It's Tinsel Tree. It's Tinsel Tree. And this was actually given to me. I got this, my friend Felici Fibers, Angela Felici Fibers, she's got a few podcast episodes up. You should check her out. But she did a do-it-yourself advent out of her leftovers one year, and she drew my name, and so I actually won this. This was the final skein after all the little minis, and it's so beautiful, and it's knitting up precious. So one of my yarn adventures that I did, I got 9-inch circulars. I never tried them. Y'all know I love me some DPNs, but I tell you what, I don't hate these. So the benefits I'm finding, this is a set of Chalgoos that I picked up at Unwound in Kingsport. So and they are the bamboo Chalgoos, and I really like the Chalgoo cord. I don't feel like it kinks. It behaves really well. It's a fairly smooth join, so I'm very happy with that. The problem that I am having with these is that they're actually a little too sharp for me, and I end up, my fingers, and I poke myself a lot. That's kind of ridiculous, but I poke my fingers, and I'm not real pleased with that. But I love that I can't drop them, that they're connected. These would be like perfect movie theater sock knitting, because the one problem that I do have with DPNs is, well, there's 2 problems, but the first problem is that if you're in a movie theater and you drop a DPN, that sucker's gone. It just rolls all the way down to the front. Not that I go to movies much anymore, but I have a tendency to lose them in the couch. I say that they come with 5, so that after I lose one, I still have 4 and can go around in a circle. But that's one problem, and I don't have that with these because they're obviously joined together. And then the other problem with DPNs is the laddering, and I don't really get too much laddering, but that's because I'm really aware of it, and so I'm kind of tugging at that second stitch every time. There's no ladders with this. I really like it. So I just did, I don't know, what is that? Like 1/2 inch of 2x2 rib. I'm doing kind of my sock pattern again. But look, isn't that fun yarn? And it's a Christmas themed yarn, but that's gonna go with everything because I love gray, y'all. Just really happy with it. And this is a size 1 on the Chalgoos. Again, 9-inch circulars. If you haven't tried it, try it. If you have tried it, please let me know what you think. So far, I'm kind of in love, but I haven't done the heel yet. So I'm kind of debating what kind of heel to do. If I'm going to do my traditional heel or if I'm going to try something different since I do have the 9-inch circs going on. Okay. There's that one. Next, and this is my last thing of my stuff to show really. Next I cast on, so I don't always knit from stash, but when it's like 9 o'clock at night and I don't want to leave the house, but I really want to cast something new on, of course I knit from stash. That's why we have stash, right? So I pulled out some LRA yarn that I had. I've got a couple of different colors in this. It's the Classic Heathers. LRA Classic Heathers. And I don't know if you can tell, but it has this beautiful blue gray marl to it, but it's such a soft colorway. And I was just kind of thinking I was gonna put a little cardigan for me on, but I haven't done anything for baby John in a while. So John is my almost 2-year-old. We are fixing to adopt him from the foster system. He is precious. He is gorgeous. And this color will be beautiful on him, of course. And so I dug around, I looked through Ravelry, but I finally settled on this book, 60 60 quick knits for little kids, and it's from Cascade Pacific, and it's playful knits for sizes 2 through 6 in Pacific and Pacific Chunky from Cascade. So I didn't have Cascade, I had LRA, but upon digging I came across this preciousness. Oh my goodness. So I love this. This is called the Sailor Stripe Pullover, and it comes in sizes 2, 4, and 6. So I'm doing the size 2. John is really tiny for his age. So I think that even this fall, this sweater will be big on him. And he may even be able to wear it next year if I cast on a size 2, which I did. And I love the stripe. I think this is precious, but I had 3 skeins of the blue, and so I have cast on, this is actually the back. Look at it. Look. Now, you may notice, this is a seamed garment. I have never made a seamed sweater. I've seamed things, but I usually do sweaters and things in the round. What I'm finding though is, for my ADHD, I kind of like this because the panel works up really quick, and then you're like, oh, I'm done with the back. And you're alternating between knitting and purling, and so that's kind of kept my brain engaged really well. I love the little, and this is going to lay a lot flatter when I wash, block, and seam it, but I love the little, it almost looks cordish on the bottom. I don't want to give away the trick, but it's really, it's almost like a cord at the bottom. So this is the back, and I knocked it out like in no time. And so I have cast on, it's bottom up, and I have cast on for the front, and the fronts and the back are knit nearly the same, and then the decreases, and then you come in and you do the sleeves. So I'm debating. I have a really dark charcoal gray in the same LRA. I could do like that little cord cast on. I could do that on the sleeves, and then do this collar detail in that dark chocolate, and I think that would be super sweet. I think I've got enough of the blue if I just want to make it all one color, and I have a couple of other things that are kind of leftover yarns that I think would look really cute. Oh, sorry, kicked the table. That I think would look really cute with this soft blue. I'm not doing the stripes, but it's so cute. I may end up doing the stripes. We'll see. I love a good quick knit. Let me see if there's another picture I can show you. Not really. There's not a very good way for me to show you without showing the pattern. But this book is adorable, and there are so many cute things in it. As usual, it's mostly for little girls because, you know, girls get fun stuff. But there's a little turtleneck. And most of this is chunky. This is the other one that caught my eye. Look at the little boy. I love a grandpa cardigan on a kid. My kids always have at least one grandpa cardi running around. But if you are a girl mama or girl nana or something, here's a little dress, a little bear hat. I don't want to go through and show you all of these because that would get really boring probably. But it's a sweet little book. As always, I've linked it below so you can find it. So that's my little sweater for John, and it is Ella Rae Classic Heathers, color number 178. Now, I did go down, the pattern calls for an 8, and I went down to a 6, and of course, I'm still loving my copper needles from my copper needles, but I liked my fabric a lot better and was a lot closer to gauge when I went on down to a 6. Oh, I forgot to tell you, on my socks, my Tinsel socks, for me, I did 72 stitches on a size 1 needle. I think I forgot to tell that. 72 stitches on this one. Okay, so that's what I've been knitting on, and it's so much fun. It's all like not mindless, but not complicated, and I love that little place right in between. I've been having some yarn adventures lately. So I did go to Kingsport to the carriage house, and I told you I got my 9-inch circulars there, and I also got a skein of Plymouth Viento because I'm working on, I have at least 2 patterns in the works right now, and I needed another skein. I got one of my Plymouth skeins and it kind of came apart, but it had been in my stash for a little while, and I don't have, knock on wood, I do not have a moth problem, but it kept pulling apart. So I think it was just a defect in that one skein. So bought another skein up there. The carriage house is precious. I met the owner. Her name's Terry, and she wants me to come and maybe do a live with her and maybe do an interview at some point. And I'd love to show off some of our local yarn shops and our local yarn shop owners. The other one that I want to make sure that I show off, I want to get Candace in here. Candace is a prolific designer and just an incredible knitter, and she owns the Yarntiques in Johnson City. But we also we've got one up in Abingdon, and there's a couple in Asheville. So let me know if you're interested in those. I think LYSs are sweet, and we need to be supporting them, and I would love to show them off. So if you want to do a little yarn tourism through my podcast, let me know. I'll show them off for you. But I did get to go to one that is a little bit more out of my immediate area. Blowing Rock, North Carolina is, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half from here. If you don't know, Blowing Rock is this little town. It's a little mountain town. It's built around the idea of this overlook, I guess, this rock that has an incredible view. And the idea is something about the way the valley is shaped, that if you were to throw something lightweight over, which we don't because we don't litter, right? But we throw something lightweight over, it would flow up back at us. So maybe a dried leaf or something, it flows right back at you. And so there's the story about I don't know exactly how it goes, but it's an Indian couple that the one of them jumped off, and then the breeze came, the wind came and blew him back up to his love. Anyway, I should look that up. But Blowing Rock. So Blowing Rock is a sweet little town. It's very touristy. It's but it's touristy in a, I don't know, like a more upscale way, like sweet little shops and delicious restaurants. And we have been wanting to get out of town for quite some time. I don't think we've gone, my husband Scott and I have not done anything together really since I guess since we got John, so almost 2 years ago. And of course it was COVID then and all that kind of stuff. And so we got a hotel room for the night and just one quick night over in Blowing Rock. We got to eat at a place called Hellbender's, which by the way is like a salamander. So yeah, randomness. Hellbender's, and they had the best chips, like homemade chips, and that always makes me really happy. So then we wandered around, looked at all the shops. We got to go in on Sunday. I went into a place in Blowing Rock called Unwound. I just realized that I told you the wrong name of the place in Kingsport. Terry is the owner of the Carriage House in Kingsport. I think I was calling it Unwound. Okay, Kingsport, Tennessee, Carriage House. Blowing Rock, North Carolina, Unwound. So I didn't get to meet the owner there, but I came in and was greeted so warmly and got to meet some of the regulars there, and they were just sitting and knitting and chatting and happy as they could be, and I loved it. It was such a sweet place. It's pretty good size. There's a lot of yarn in there, and I actually got some footage of the place because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get back over there anytime real soon. So I will pop that footage in at the end of the podcast if you want to kind of get a look around Unwound. So the reason I can't just run over the mountain for an hour and a half away, that's not very far away, but because little John is in our foster care system in Tennessee, he can't leave the state without permission. So where we live up in our little corner of the state, I could get to a couple other states really quickly, way quicker than I could get to a lot of places in Tennessee. But that's just how the foster care system works. And we should adopt him maybe July or August, so it's not much longer, and then we'll just be able to run him around wherever, and that's going to be a lot of freedom. We're pretty happy about that. Okay, so Yarn Adventures, I went to Kingsport, to Carriage House, I went to Blowing Rock, to Unwound. This Saturday, so this is Thursday, I'll post it on Friday, so for you guys tomorrow, I get to go to a little knit night, and it's somewhere in North Carolina at a farm, and I really don't know a whole lot about this. My friend Melissa invited me, and I'm super excited. I have to figure out a vegetarian dish to bring. I am not the chef, so maybe like cut veggies and some dip. I don't really like to cook. I cook enough to survive. Oh. Thankfully, my husband enjoys cooking, so we do get some good food sometimes. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to that. Hope I do get to go. You know, with kids, you never are sure about that kind of thing, but I'm excited about that. I started another beginner's class, but where it's summer, I really didn't have very many people sign up. And I thought I was starting a class with 3, which is pretty small, but that's okay. Like I said, it's summer. But one girl didn't come, and I don't think she is coming. And so the other 2 students were just, they were in my my first beginner's class that I taught. So it's kind of just like having a knit night. Like, we're just sitting around. And last night, I just had the one guy. Not last night, Tuesday night. I just had the one guy. But he and I had a blast. I was able to teach him to use DPN, so I'll be interested to hear if he still tolerates them when we meet back. That's okay. It was a lot of fun. I love a knit night. I love to just be able to sit and knit. So, next. Super excited about this. We have another giveaway. Yay! So I have a couple of things. This one's a little bit bigger than our last giveaway. Our last giveaway was just the one skein of sock yarn. A couple extra things today. So we have a sweet little notions pouch with a precious little sheep. This is a little felted notions pouch with a little ball on the end. Yep, blue inside. Felted notions pouch. We have a little book. This book is called Play. Ideas, exercises, and little ways to add more fun to every day. So it's kind of like a creativity journal. And I've been thinking a lot about like core beliefs and that sort of thing. One of my core beliefs in life is that we're all creative. We just have to have time and a little inspiration, and we can do anything. So I believe you're creative. So I'm throwing in this little book, and it's ways about being able to play. So it says, like this one says, I'm going to put aside my self-conscious and give blank a try. Self-consciousness. I did that with YouTube. Here I sit, self-conscious as ever. Your instinct to follow the pull towards play and delight has returned. Anyway, super cute. And then finally, the pièce de résistance. We have 2 skeins of Malabrigo Rios in the color 850 Archangel. Everybody loves Malabrigo, right? Or as my friend Carrie says, Malabrigo. So this is the giveaway. Oh. If you would like to enter the giveaway, all you have to do is comment down below. I'll pop the details down, but just comment. Any comment will enter you, and I'll send all these 3 things to you. We will draw by random number generator, or I think YouTube kind of has its own comment picker thing. I'll figure that out later. But anyway, it'll be just random, and I will message you and get it sent off to you. So yeah, love giveaways. We always do yoga for knitters on this podcast. So today let's do just some gentle finger stretches. I'm not even going to scoot back for this one. What you're going to do is place all of your fingertips together like this. Yeah. And then you're going to gently press the pads of your fingers, the pads of your palm here, towards one another. Now, I have really stretchy fingers. Do not freak out. But we're going to push the pads of the fingers down here, the pads of the hand, together and stretch the fingers open. And you can kind of do that for the thumb. And if you have to do maybe these couple fingers and then these other fingers, do it that way. But just a very simple, beautiful finger stretch. So a couple of things about life, just a couple of things to throw in here. This first one's sheepy related. It's knitting related. So do you guys like the Calm app? I love the Calm app because my mind at night is like, so much going on. So the Calm app, I turn on one of the sleep stories at night, and 9 times out of 10, I don't make it to the end of the story. And they're only like 30-minute stories at the most. But I found this new one, and I'm so in love. It's called, you ready? Drifting Off to Sheep. I'm not kidding. Drifting Off to Sheep. So it's, I should have written down the guy's name, but it's a guy that reads it, and he's telling a story of like the coolest, most interesting sheep breeds. And he runs through his top 20 favorite sheep breeds. It is so precious. The first time I listened to it, I really didn't want to go to sleep because I just wanted to hear him talk about the sheep. And so I actually did make it all the way through that one just because I was so intrigued. And I have done a little bit of research on some of the breeds that he mentioned just to look them up. Did you know that there is such a thing as fat-tailed sheep? They have this extra, like, booty. They have this extra fat pad that I guess helps them survive harsh climates. Yeah, I had to look them up. If you look up fat-tailed sheep, it's totally a thing. But I'm not associated with Calm in any way, and whatever. But if you have the Calm app, go find Drifting Off to Sheep because it's just precious. So another, like, a huge life thing happened. It's kind of huge and kind of not. Anyway, drama. I don't sleep well. Let's start there. I don't sleep well. I never have. I kind of, I just barely am asleep. So I end up having vivid dreams. I wake up very easily. So I just don't sleep well. So the other night, I think it was the night of June 1st over into June 2nd. So that was, I was in bed, but not asleep at about 3 o'clock. My phone rang. I usually have my ringer off. It just happened to be on. So my phone rang, and of course I answered because we are DCS foster parents and we often get calls in the middle of the night. And so they said, we have a 6-month-old. Could you take him as a placement? And we don't have room for any more kids in our house. We have a small house. We're hoping to be building at some point in the near future. But we have a small house. We can only have the kids that we have. But I said, I really don't have room, but I have a playpen. And if you want, I can put the playpen out in the living room and he can stay with us for a night or two until you can place him. And babies are really easy to place. Everybody wants foster babies, right? So I knew it wasn't going to be too long before they found him an actual placement, like a foster family to love on him. But because it was 3 o'clock in the morning and we have a thing called the Isaiah House in Tennessee, and it's fairly new, but it is a house where foster children can go and stay for up to 24 hours so that they don't have to sit at the office with the social worker. They're already in the hardest time of their lives, and they have to sit and just wait for a foster worker to fill out paperwork and find them a place to be. So instead of that, they go to this Isaiah House. I will link Isaiah House below. But apparently the Isaiah House in his county, he wasn't from our county, but apparently the Isaiah House there was full. We've had so many people coming into care, you guys. These children, birth to 18, come in all the time. We get called all the time for kids that my husband and I just aren't able to help. We don't have the space. But anyway, check out foster care in your area if you haven't already. So where was I? Isaiah House was full. So they had this baby and he came to stay with us. So at 4 a.m., I answered the door. Thankfully, my kids stayed asleep. The CPS worker came in holding him and the baby was asleep. And the first thing I said was like, oh my goodness, he's a chunker. My little boys came in. So when they both got into the foster system, when they both came to me, they were failure to thrive. So that just means that they were so little and tiny that they weren't as healthy as they could be. But this baby, he wasn't just chunky, he was chonky. He had the fat little baby thighs. Oh, I loved it. So he was almost 7 months, but he weighed almost as much as my tiny 2-year-old. But he was asleep, and the social worker put him down in the playpen. We filled out all the paperwork. He stayed asleep, and that was it. I had 3 kids in the house. Well, my husband got up in the morning and he'd been asleep, and he walked out into the living room and he said, is that a baby in our living room? So everybody was shocked when they woke up. Little John kept walking over going, baby, baby. Thankfully, baby Jay was asleep. I'm not going to tell you his name, but we'll call him baby Jay, and he was still asleep. So we didn't have a toddler and a baby all at once. That's a lot. The moms who do that, I totally admire you. Good job. But we didn't have both of those at the same time, and my husband took John to daycare, and then my James woke up. Well, James is 7, and so he kind of understands, and he loves babies, and so he literally followed me around the house, touching the baby's legs, patting his little bottom. Like, he was all about it. He wanted us to keep the baby and asked a lot of questions, but I explained to him that there is a family out there that just wants to love on a baby. Just like mommy and daddy wanted a baby, and we got James. And so he eventually was okay, but he wanted me to show him off at school. We took him in the front door just so that people could see him. And first thing he said as soon as I picked him up that afternoon was, "Where's the baby, Mama?" But baby Jay was placed at, I think they got him into a home, a good steady foster placement. So somebody to look out for him until his parents can do what they need to do. They placed him in the evening around supper time, but he had a doctor's appointment, so they actually picked him up from me about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So with all the excitement, and I was awake from 3 o'clock on, it took me a while to catch up. Friday at lunchtime, I was at work at the church, and I just told the preacher, I said, I'm making so many mistakes. I'm going to make a big mess. So I came on home and slept it off. Slept pretty hard, slept pretty good. We weren't sure we were going to be able to go out of town Saturday because I was so tired. But my sweet husband let me nap, and that was good. I think that's all I've got for today. Let me know what you're working on in the comments. I can't wait to hear. I'm also curious to hear if any of you foster or if you've thought of fostering. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. Thanks for being here, friends.